So, because the quizzes were way lower than what I thought they were supposed to be. Like, I really thought, given that quiz out Friday, I really thought the quiz scores were going to be lots of 7 out of 9, 8 out of 9, 9 out of 9s. And I did have a few 100%, but not nearly enough. This class, second hour, actually did a little bit better than sixth hour.
I got one.
But the quiz scores, because we are almost at the end of this chapter, all we have is one more section, which I think will be a pretty easy section. And then we're done with the test. I don't want to move forward away from this quiz until we have this, because basically all we have left is one more section, and then I'm going to give you a little quiz over just that 5-9, and then we're taking the test. Based on the quiz results on 5-6 through 5-8, I'm not convinced yet that we're ready for that test. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to re-quiz tomorrow.
Do I have to?
I will be taking the best score. So every single person in this room has an opportunity to improve on that score. And
I got one wrong.
even if you got one wrong, a 1 out of 9 is an 89%. To me, I think you can get into the 90s. I mean, you can get 100%. So,
Bro, you gotta be kidding me. I was so hyped on the pre-quiz.
now, there are some of you that I'm honestly not too worried about. I really am. I'm not too worried about some of your scores because, you know, we are getting 7s and not 8s out of 9, where it should be an easy fix. Some of you, though, we need to improve before we can move on and be done with this chapter. This is one of those chapters that, I mean, you're going to use a lot of this linear stuff later on. So we've got to be good at this stuff. So, the single most common mistake people make. Solving these problems. You need to be able to solve those problems. Where you are given a slope and a point, and you got to find the equation of that line. What is one method?
Y equals mx.
So one method is to use y equals mx plus b. What goes in for the y?
Negative 2
-2.
equals 4.
The m is 4. What's the x? 6
Plus b.
plus b. How do you solve for b? 4 times 6 is 24 plus b is equal to -2. So what's b going to equal? How do you get rid of that 24? How is the 24 connected to the b? Plus, so you minus it. What's -2 minus 24? -26. So what does that mean about my answer? What is the answer to this question? Y equals 4x minus 26.
Dude, no, that's where I mess up.
Every time.
Like, every time
Where?
I mess up at the -2 equals 24 plus b. Like, and then I always, like, mix it up. Like, I don't know. Like, every single one.
The only thing I can say to that, then, is pay more attention to, like, keep asking yourself, how is the 24 connected to the b? It's 24 plus b. So how do you get rid of it? How do you move it to the other side? You minus it.
So
And
it doesn't matter if, like, 24 is negative or positive. It just matters how connected it's to.
Well, I mean, if you had something like this, right? That's a little bit different because that is a -24. And isn't -24 plus b really the same thing as 24 minus b? Aren't those two things exactly the same? So in this case, yes, how would I move that 24 to the other side? you would add it to the other side, right? So yeah, there is a difference with whether it's positive or negative, but basically, if it's addition or subtraction, you just do the opposite of what it is. If it's a negative, you add it. If it's positive, you subtract it.
That's where I messed up. I would like add the 24 to the 22 or something like that, and then get the wrong answer.
What is a different method of doing this? And if that is the case, if you are making that mistake a lot, I would highly recommend trying the other method and maybe doing both methods to make sure you're doing it correctly. The other method is to use the point slope form. And remember, the point slope form, you put y and then is it always the same or the opposite? So what would we put? Y what? Plus 2, right? It's always the opposite of that y. The slope is 4, and then it'd be x minus 6, right? And then you distribute 4x minus 24 equals y plus 2, and all you got to do now is move that 2 to the other side. How do you move that 2 to the other side? You subtract. So you get y equals 4x minus 26. If you are making one mistake over and over and over again, we've got to find a different way. We've got to find some way that you're not going to make a mistake. That might be point slope form. That might be graphing. What's a third way that you really could do this problem? Graphing. How could I graph, so y, m is 4, it's 6, negative 2. How could I graph this problem? So start at 6, negative 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 2. And then what?
Go up 4 over 1.
Up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, over 1. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, over 1, right? Now, your graph of your line should look something like this. What are you looking for? When you draw that line, what are you looking for now? You have the slope, but what do you need? What do you really need? You need the b. You need the y-intercept. Where in the graph are you going to see the b value? We got to figure out where this line does what. What is the b value? It's the
Slope, or the y-axis.
the y-intercept. We got to figure out where this red line hits the y-axis. It's going to be way down there somewhere. And yeah, this one's a bad example because it's off my graph. But this would be another way you could do that. All you really have to find is where is it going to cross the y-axis. Absolutely, you could graph it, plot the slope, and you're looking on the y-axis of where exactly does it cross. I'll bet you if we count that down far enough and we drew this graph bigger, where do you think it's actually going to cross? Negative 26. We just need a really big graph in this case to find that. Okay? Are we okay with those? Okay, so let's do this. Friday we took, I'm going to pass back these quizzes. I know we already went through them a little bit. Everybody take one. There's one for Hunter in there too. Your quiz tomorrow is going to look very similar to the quiz you guys took last week. So, the types of questions that will be on the quiz are the same types of questions that were on this quiz. So the first one, which equation describes the line with slope is negative 4 and y-intercept is 2? How do you do that question? Y equals mx plus b. The slope is negative 4, so you're looking for y equals negative 4x. The y-intercept is 2, so y equals negative 4x plus 2. Easy. There will probably be another question just like that on the quiz. I don't think that was one that we all got wrong. That was a pretty easy one. Number 2 is exactly like this question. They give you a slope and a point. This one was, they gave us the slope of 2 and the point of 1,5. There's going to be, most of the quiz is basically this skill right here. Being able to take a slope and a point and find the equation. There's 3 good methods. You can use y equals mx plus b. If I use y equals mx plus b, what would it be? 5 equals 2 times 1 plus b. 2 times 1 is 2. How do we move that 2 to the other side? You minus it, so you get 3. So it would be y equals 2x plus 3. Or, what would this be in point slope form? Y minus the y, minus 5, equals the slope, x minus the x. Remember, with the point slope form, they're always opposite, right? So if this is a positive 1, that's a negative. If that's a positive 5, that's a negative 5. But the slope is always the same. The only thing you got to do, distribute, add the 5. What would be a third way that you could have done this? What would be another way that you could absolutely do this? Could you graph it? Well, my slope, my point is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the slope is 2. What's the slope of 2 mean? Up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. What are we looking for? Where it hits the y-axis. Well, if we go up 2 over 1, we should also be able to go down 2, back 1. We're looking for that point right there of 3. So we have y equals 2x plus 3. That's 3 really good ways of doing that problem. Am I asking you to do all 3? No. I'm saying you should be able to do it at least 2 different ways. That way you can guarantee yourself the right answers. How about number 3? What is the slope and the y-intercept of 3x minus 6? This one, I don't think very many people struggled with this one. What's the slope of this one? 3. What's the y-intercept? Negative 6. Now, here's one that might be on the test, or on the re-quiz. Similar question. I'll ask you the exact same question. What is the slope and what is the y-intercept? What's the only difference between this problem and the last problem? It's not in slope-intercept form. So what do you have to do first? What do we have to get by itself in order to say what is my slope and what is my y-intercept? We got to get the y by itself. So we move the 2x to the other side, so that positive 2x comes over here and becomes negative 2x. I still have this 12 here, and then I have negative 4y. Now what? How do you get the y by itself? What's the last thing you got to do? Divide by negative 4? If I divide that by negative 4, I got to divide that by negative 4, and I got to divide that by negative 4. Negative 2 divided by negative 4, the negatives cancel. 2 over 4 reduces to 1/2. 12 divided by negative 4 would be negative 3. So what is my slope and what is my y-intercept now? Slope is 1/2, y-intercept is negative 3. Good? Easy? There's going to be at least one or two of these on the quizzes, just like this, that you will have to solve for y. It may be a question like this, or it may be a question like this. Okay, if I gave you these 4 lines, we'll call them A, B, C, and D. And I said, tell me which 2 lines are parallel to each other. What do you have to do first? If I ask which ones of these are parallel, what is the only thing you should be looking for? The slope. You're looking for the same slope. What is the slope of this line? 3/4. That's easy to find. What is the slope of this line? Negative 3/4. That's easy to find. What is the slope of this line? Oh, that's not as easy to find because it's not in slope-intercept form. So you're going to have to put it in slope-intercept form, which means move the 3x to the other side, which would be negative 3x. And then I've got that 4y, so then I have to divide by 4. So I get y equals negative 3/4 x, plus I don't really care what 9/4 is. What's the slope of this line? Negative 3/4. Do I have some parallel lines already? Yeah, these are parallel, aren't they? And then I should check this one as well. 3y equals, I'd move the 4x to the other side, negative 4x plus 10, divide by 3. And what's my slope? Negative 4/3. So what are the only 2 lines up here that are parallel to each other? A and D. I could ask you the exact same question, give you the exact same 4 lines, but now ask you for perpendicular. What are you looking for perpendicular? Opposite reciprocals. You've got 3/4, negative 3/4, negative 3/4, and positive 4/3. Do you have any opposite reciprocal slopes here? Isn't negative 3/4 and positive 4/3 opposite reciprocals of each other? One's negative, one's positive. 3/4, 4/3 are upside down, so yeah, these 2 would be perpendicular. So I can ask you the exact same question where you'd have to solve for y in order to find the slopes, and then tell me those. Is there another way that you could find the slope of 3x plus 4y equals 9? Yes. You could find the x-intercept and the y-intercept, right? Plot those 2 points and do the rise over run. You can do it that way. I just think it's easier to solve for y. Those will be on the quiz tomorrow. Re-quiz. Number 6 is, or 5 and 6 again, they give you a point, they give you a slope. They give you a point, they give you a slope. Slope-intercept form or point-slope form. Make sure you can do both of those. 7, parallel. There's going to be perpendicular. Make sure you know the difference between parallel slopes and perpendicular slopes. And then I can guarantee you there's going to be questions similar to number 8, where they give you an equation and a point. Negative 3, 1. Why are you doing this? I don't know why it does that. Okay, this question said parallel. If it's parallel, what's the slope you're going to use? It'd be the same as that one, right? And then you could use y equals mx plus b. So the y is 1, the slope is 4, the x would be -3, you'd solve for b, right? If I changed this problem and all I did was write perpendicular, what would be the only difference? Instead of using the same slope, what would you use? You use the opposite reciprocal, right? And then you solve it the same way. That's everything that's going to be on your quiz tomorrow. Are we good with these? Okay, pass those back forward. Okay, now I'm going to give you kind of a weird homework assignment. Okay.
Oh, there it is. I was trying to put it on there. No, I saw it.
All right, this worksheet that you're doing, you are not doing the whole thing.
Oh, God. Holy cow.
You are not doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
What I want you to do is you're only going to do the questions that are similar to what's going to be on your quiz tomorrow. Those questions are, you're going to want to kind of circle these as you go. I want you to do 40 through 43. Circle those. You can cross out 44 and 45. All you're looking for is the slope and the y-intercept. What is the answer to number 40? What's the slope? 5. What's the y-intercept? 3. Easy. But you look at 42, and what are you going to have to do? Uh-oh. What does 42 have? That one just says 5x minus 2 equals 0. Is there something that's missing? There's no y. When you solve this, you're going to get just a number. You move the 2 over, and you divide by 5. What do all equations that go x equals something look like? Is it a horizontal or a vertical line? That's a vertical line. What's the slope of all vertical lines? No slope, it's undefined. What's the y-intercept? Where does that line hit the y-intercept? Where does it hit the y-axis? It doesn't. Okay? Good with those? If it said y equals, what's the slope? All horizontal lines have a slope of 0, right? Okay, so you're going to do 40 through 43. Whoa, go away. You're going to do 46 through 53. You're going to cross out 54 through 57. Basically, I'm not going to give you the decimals or fractions on the quiz tomorrow. But you should be able to take a point and a slope and write an equation. Notice 52. What's the slope? It's undefined. What does that mean? What kind of line is it? They're all straight lines.
Vertical.
It's a vertical line that goes through the point 6, -1. The point 6, -1 is down here somewhere, right? And it's a vertical line. It's x equals. What's the x value for all of those points? 6. There's your answer. If it said the slope was 0, that would mean it's a horizontal line. It'd be y equals -1. Then I want you to do, so you're going to do 40 through 43. 46 through 53. You're going to do 58 through 61. You can cross out 62 through 67. Basically, I give you 2 points. How are you going to find the slope when I give you 2 points? Use the slope formula and then do one. So those will be on the quiz tomorrow. You can cross out that whole section of 68 through 73. I want you to do 74, 75, 78. You can cross out 76 and 77. Even though I think you could do this. And then I want you to do all 4 of the last one, 82 through 85. Okay? These questions are very, very similar to what your quiz tomorrow is going to look like. Okay? I would right now circle the ones that you have to do, cross out the ones you don't have to do. Okay? Quiz tomorrow. Over the same material.